Hello, and welcome to the Men Don't Cry podcast with me, Charlie.
Hello, again, it's me.
You're saying that.
Oh, sorry, it's Louis.
And today we're talking about school.
We are, yeah.
Which is exciting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we should probably talk a little bit about the reason that we've decided to talk about this. It's been one that we've wanted to do for a little bit of time. I know I say that about every episode, but it's been one that I've wanted to do for a little bit of time. So you start us off. Why do you feel like it's an important topic to talk about?
I think school is probably one of the most it is the most developmental years of your life, right? So from the ages of, we're only really going to talk about secondary school. Primary school, it's too nice. It's not interesting enough. Secondary school, you have from ages 11 to 16 or 18.
Both of us 18.
Yeah, 11 to 18. Those are some of the biggest years of your life where you learn how to socialise, how to you had friends in primary school, but how to sort of be in big friendship groups, girls, or partners, first relationships, major stresses like exams, all that sort of thing is mainly in school, and it causes a lot of problems, but it's also quite funny. It's quite a lot of, I think it's everyone says the best years of your life, you're in school with your mates every day. So yeah, I think it's a good topic to cover.
And it's going to be a nice little mix. We're going to talk about sort of the fun bits of school. We're going to talk about the bits we struggled with, talk about some funny stories, especially if you went to one of our schools or in our year or still go to these schools. You'll probably find some little bits interesting or be able to relate to little bits, so stick around for them. Yeah. We've also dressed to impress.
As you can see.
Louis gone for the more Jay from the In-Betweeners sort of tie look, which I appreciate.
It was a big sort of phase in my school.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, if you have your tie as short as actually possible, you're really cool. And if you had a long tie, you're a loser.
We had the bag. Do you remember the Year 7 bags? Yeah. Where everyone had I remember in Year 7, everyone had these big, massive rucksacks. Yeah. And they were like big camping bags. As soon as Year 8 hits, you had the super dry satchels. Yeah. You had the Galaxy Hype bags.
Hype, yeah. I was going to say Hype.
Hype was massive.
I didn't ever have a Hype bag. My brother and sister said I wasn't allowed one.
Oh, Hype.
Because they were like, it's not cool.
Hype was cool.
Yeah.
Your brother and sister don't know what I'm talking about. Hype is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think you've gone for more, we were saying this just before we recorded, I think you've gone more for the secondary school look. I think I've gone a little bit more sixth form / job interview.
You got the chain on, you're looking like a sixth former.
Still got the chain.
Let me just get rid of the chain. Let me just take that away. I'm wearing my tie loud and proud. I once got mugged off by an optician for my tie. Fun little story before we start. Go on. It was the phase, and I went to I have an eye test, and he went, mate, he's an optician, he's getting paid to sort of service my eyes, and he's gone, mate, why are you wearing your tie like that? And he made me change my tie before my eye test. He went, I'm not going to do your eye test until you change your tie.
That's
some old bloke. And I went, oh, okay. I changed it in front of him, to be fair.
Brilliant.
That was a win for him.
So obviously we've talked a little bit about why we've decided to talk about school. I think we should just go straight into it. Yeah. You went to, do we say the names of the school? We can say the names of the schools, can't we?
There's nothing bad against the schools.
By the way, when we do talk about our stories, we're going to make sure that we don't include names. Yeah. Even if you don't mind your name being in it, if the stories are about you, we're just going to either change names or just say the person. Yeah. Just to make sure that no one feels as though they've been put in when they shouldn't have been put in. Yeah. But talk a little bit about your school and sort of...
Yeah. My secondary school, so from Year 7s to 11... I went to Sir Joseph Williamson's Mathematical School for Boys. It was a grammar school in Kent. I have nothing bad to say about that school. Yep. I love that school.
What kind of school was it?
Quite regimental, very I went, just to context, I went to Fort Pitt Grammar School for girls for sixth form, which was a mixed sixth form. And I always say that the Sir Joseph Williamson's was called the Math for short. The math school made me, and then Fort Pitt shaped me. Yeah. Because it gave me all my interest. It was very sport heavy, competitive. You had to work hard, that sort of school. You didn't get off light at all. And then, so I was quite sort of head down for 5 years. And then Fort Pitt was it sort of made, I was around girls and I sort of softened and became more sociable.
Your interests.
Yeah, and sort of really, I think that sort of made me into the person probably I am today. So, yeah, but the math school was quite a knuckle down, work
I think
hard.
the way you've described it to me is almost as if when you get there, it's right, you're lucky to be here.
Yeah, so you had to pass an entrance test to get to the school, which we called the 11 Plus in Kent, which you take when you just start Year 6. And so you have to get into that school. And even if you pass the 11 plus, it's not guaranteed you get into the maths school.
Did you have to do an interview?
No, but it's all to do with like catchment area, and like it's a very prestigious school. And they let you know that like you go in there and you go, well done, you're here, but now the work begins. That's the sort of vibe. Like our first ever assembly, they went, you've got one foot in the door, don't mess it up. Sort of thing. Like you'll
There's a lot of pressure straight off the bat.
Yeah, and you'll carry the name of the maths school with you forever. Right. So represent it in the right way. Okay. So it was very like hard and fast with like the rules, like
And then how was your second school, which was sixth form?
A lot softer. So when I went there, so when we in the maths school, when a teacher walked into the room, you stood up. It was very like respect heavy, all that sort of thing. Sir, miss, all that sort of thing. You still had that in Fort Pitt, and the Fort Pitt's just like a bit of a softer vibe, and it's a different way of learning. And I really liked it. It was what I needed at the time. But like there would be times where people would be going out on their phones. When I first walked into form and everyone was on their phones, I was like, what is going on? Do you know what I mean? Like it was such a different environment that like I had to sort of readjust to. But I loved it, and it was a different way of sort of learning how to...
I think before I go and talk about my school, it's an interesting point about sixth form, because I remember like when I went to sixth form, that jump between year 11 and sixth form was massive. And that jump between the first year of sixth form and second year of sixth form was massive, because you're turning 18, you're able to drive, like people are driving to school, people can go and have a drink at lunchtime if they really want. They go down the pub and have a pint and then come back to school. So all these things are making you an adult. And then when you get treated like a child still in school, it can be really difficult. And the best teachers I had in sixth form realised that that difference had been made, and they treat each year very differently. When you're in year 7, it's like you're told exactly what to do, and you're punished for not doing what you're meant to do because you're rebellious at that age. You're a little shit, you know what I mean? You're cocky. Whereas when you're in sixth form, you're treated with a level of respect. And a lot of my teachers in sixth form said, you know, don't call me sir or miss, it's weird, like you're 18. Like I could see you in a club on the weekend, like call me by my name. So we had a few teachers that we would just call by their names.
Really?
Yeah.
I did that, but only because with one teacher who we were all really close with, and he was that sort of person. But that was the one person we could get away with it, but it wasn't like that anywhere else.
I think I was going to talk about my school then. So my school is St Simon Stock Catholic School in Maidstone. If anyone that goes to school in Maidstone, you know that there's so many schools in Maidstone. I think there's about 12 secondary schools in Maidstone, which is really good, I always thought, because I would have friends from different schools, especially in my earlier years. I'd have friends from the boys' grammar school, where they're all the lads, and then you'd speak to girls at parties that were from the girls' grammar schools, and you'd have all the other secondary schools as well, what you'd see on sports days and all that sort of stuff. But then also, when you go to parties,
you'd have one big sports days.
No, sorry. When we had a Maidstone athletic event and that sort of thing. So that's what I meant. But you could make friends with people from different schools, and then when you walk to the bus stops or you go into town, because every single school was maximum 30-minute walk from town. And a lot of you get your buses from, so you walk into town, you go and get your buses with all these other people from different schools, and it's really fun. So I'm very glad that I went to a school that wasn't in the middle of nowhere, that was around loads of other schools.
We had my school, and then opposite the road was the girls' the girls' grammar. So after school, obviously, straight over the road, chirps in as much as I possibly can. One time I got caught out by my brother, who's like 5 years older, and he walked home, and Mum was like, "Oh, you're in early. Where's Louis?" He went, "Oh, he's over the other side of the road talking to the girls." And I got in, and Mum was like, "What are you doing? Why are you talking to these girls?" I was like, "Well, you know, just got to try." Can we, before we carry on? We're going to tell a lot of stories, or like we hope to, and like our experiences, but I think it's really important to frame these stories in the context of how we looked at that age.
Yes, 100%.
So what we'll show you in this, we'll have a graphic up here.
Do you want to do me first?
Yeah, we're going to do you first.
So let's do me. I've got a photo of me at 14, which I'm going to pop up here. Quite a good-looking lad, I would say. I was quite proud of my looks at 14.
Tall,
I think I've peaked quite early.
Handsome,
skinnier than
nice
I am now.
hair.
Yeah, little top knot going on in
Six
that photo.
Pack.
Just about. Just
Oh,
about.
we'll call it one. Just confident.
Yeah.
Bit of Jack the lad.
A little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. One of the, I'd say I'm relatively popular in my younger years.
Yeah.
You know, went to a few house parties and that sort of thing.
I completely understand, mate.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I talk about these stories, you have to remember this is what I looked like.
You look like that.
And it was a dark time, and I'm happy to be sort of out of that.
You hit the old puberty a bit later on.
I was a late bloomer. Yeah. Squeaky voice, obviously shit haircut.
Little chubby cheek.
You know what? So my mum my mum would cut my hair, right? Because she's a makeup artist, right?
Yeah.
So she could do all the haircuts. Loved it. Didn't have to go to barbers. It was awkward.
Yeah.
That photo is the one time I went to the barbers. I was about 13. I was like, right, mum, I'm 13 now.
Oh yeah, that's
I'm
big age.
I'm gonna go to the barber.
Be independent.
Yeah.
You know.
I came running back because I was like, look what they've done. Look what they've done to my boy. Look what they did to my Barnet. Do you know what I mean? Like that was. So that's how we looked. Yeah. So yeah.
So that's good for context.
That is when we're telling these stories.
And we're roughly the same age in them two photos.
I'm older than you.
Are you?
I'm that photo. Oh, that photo I'm 14, but like I'm older than Charlie, right, by a month. So not much, but like you have to remember how you looked and how I looked at the same age is miles off.
Yeah.
Carry on. Let's carry on.
No, so we were just talking about my school.
Yeah.
So I was happy to be in the area of Maidstone and have loads of different schools and then be able to socialise at parties. And it was a big social circle that you could access, which was really good. I would say my school had its negatives and positives. It wasn't the best school in the world. The results actually were quite good, and they're very proud of their results, and fair play to them. Out of the, again, so this is in Kent. You have like your grammar schools, which you have to do tests to get in, and they usually split up between boys and girls grammar schools. Usually
single sex, and then comps are more.
So
mixed.
You call them comps, I just call them secondary schools, because we used to call them grammar schools, secondary schools.
But I went to secondary school. It's just that I went to a grammar secondary school.
Yeah, I know, but
whereas you went to a comprehensive secondary school.
Let's just call it comprehensive then.
Fine.
So I went to a comprehensive school, and it was one of the better ones in terms of results.
Yeah.
However, the school is run down as anything. I mean, people will love this. So we got too many kids in at one point, and so the changing rooms became quite cramped for PE. So we used to share the changing rooms. It would be like us in like year 11, and then the year 7s would come in and change. Oh. And we didn't let them have any of the bench space, obviously, because you got to bully the year 7s.
Yeah.
And then they'd try and be cocky and try and start fights. We'd wrap them up in like tops and pull them over their faces. It was just horrendous. So they decided what they were going to do is make some extra space for PE change rooms, right? So they just got 2 shipping containers, right? Plonked them in a free space near the ICT block, just plonked them there, and then basically you had a door. I think they had a little bit of insulation, and the walls were so thin to the metal that when we used to go in there, some of the lads would just start hitting it and just making holes in the wall and then throwing insulation at each other. So that's what I mean in terms of like how it looked.
Yeah.
It was the caretakers did the best they could, but it was ropey. And some of the teachers were ropey as well, if I'm being honest. I think we should go on to talk about, I think we might as well talk about it now. Teachers are obviously a big part of school.
Yeah.
How was your relationships in general with teachers? And then was there any teachers that you had that extra special relationship with?
Yeah, I mean, I was quite a well-behaved kid. I wasn't bad until about year 10 or 11 when I decided I was definitely leaving. And I was like, I'll just do what I want now.
Yeah.
But up until then, I never had a detention. I was like never, I talked a bit. I like the sound of my own voice, but was never bad. So I never had any teachers that like hated me, and if it was like a teacher that hated me, it was because it was in the class, like the whole class, he hated all of us. But when I got to year 11, 10 and 11, did my GCSEs, we used to just, some of the lessons, I'm sure everyone says this about school, but some of the teachers like lost their minds because of just the class. We had one teacher who will remain nameless, but he had a funny name that sounded, it was a Welsh name, I think, and it sounded like something else.
Right.
So everybody was just shouting this guy's name back at him. And if I was a teacher, I'd be like, I'm not getting paid anywhere near enough for this.
When you look back at things like that, because I've had times in sixth form, for example, this poor woman in our DT taught our DT class in year 7, and you know, year 7 DT is like it's just them looking after us for an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
They can't teach us anything. We year
Fuck about
7.
a laser cutter.
Couldn't even touch. I don't even think we had laser cut, to be honest.
Yeah, fair play.
But we had this woman, and she was losing her mind a little bit. You know, them teachers that go a little bit past probably where they should retire.
Should have retired about 5 years ago.
Yeah, so she was past that. And my friend, who will remain nameless, used to throw buttons at her head. But we all went along with it. That she would go, "Who's doing that?" And we'd all go, "What was that, miss? Who's throwing buttons?" And we'd sort of go, "No one's throwing buttons, miss." Right? And we did it every lesson, every week, in this same class. She thought she was going mad. And I remember one time she shed a few tears, and we loved it. And this is what I mean.
So cruel.
No, but this is what I mean. The mentality that you have at year 7 is, fuck the school, fuck all the teachers, fuck my parents, fuck everyone else at this school. I hate the older years. They bully us. It was survival of the fittest. And it was who can be the most evil and who can be the most funny.
You were doing that in year 7, you were buttoning teachers.
Yeah. But this is the thing, right?
We grew into it, I think.
Yeah, so you see, with my school, like, I would say, so with my, you know, let's go, we'll go on to how our friendships grew, but we were talking about teachers. I don't want to lose that train of thought. But I certainly had really good relationships with specific teachers.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still laughing about the button head.
It's just making a...
It's that tiny little disruption, isn't it? Like just constant.
It's just evil, though. It's
just
pure
constant.
evil.
Like flicking someone's ear. Sorry.
I feel as though I'm able to mention some names of teachers that I want to give a shout out. I'm not saying anything personal about them, so I feel like I can. So I want to shout out Miss McNamee. She was my Irish IT and computer science teacher and my media teacher for the first year. And she was like, don't take no bullshit, like proper strong Irish woman, do you know what I mean? She wouldn't take any shit, but everyone loved her. Yeah. She was brilliant because she carried the whole department on her back. She cared about what she was teaching you, and she was able to speak to you like you were a person, not a student. And they're the teachers I responded well with. They're the lessons I responded the most in, because I always, every kid says this, but I always felt as though I was a little bit older and a little bit more mature than the people around me. And I struggled with that. And I struggled being lumped in when I was in like year 9 or year 10, when you're sort of like 14. I was dealing with things, as you guys know, at home, which were very serious. And so when I then go into school and get treated like a 10-year-old, and I go back home and I'm treated like an adult, it's very jarring. Yeah. And I always wanted to be treated like an adult in school. So therefore I spoke to teachers in a way that an adult would speak to an adult. And some of the teachers responded well to it, and some teachers hated it and would punish me more. Because if you're going, "You're right, miss," they go, don't speak to me like that, whatever. And some teachers go, "Yeah, you're right, Charlie," and then that relationship builds. So she was one of the ones where that relationship built, and she was always very supportive of me. So big up her. Big up Mr. O'Neill, one of my English teachers. In lunchtimes, I used to go and sit with him and just chat with him, and he was such a nice guy. Big up all the PE department, because they were fucking sick. The PE departments are always the best department because they just don't care. So they were cool. And then one teacher I did want to talk about, just before we move on to talking about other things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just for reference here, I'm going to make sure I ask with the family and his ex-fiancée if it's all right to tell his story, and then we can always cut this out. If you're seeing this, then it's all kosher with them. So I had a teacher called James Griffin, Mr. Griffin, and when he first came to the school, he only came to the school for a year, but when he first came to the school, it was an English lesson. And my English class was quite rowdy, and they shouted a lot and they spoke a lot, and it was always hard for a teacher to take control. But he had this thing where he'd just sort of sit at the front of the classroom, he'd sit back, and he'd sort of wait for us to just chat. And he'd go, "I'm not teaching you if you don't want to listen." He sort of had that approach of that, "I'm here to teach you guys if you want to be taught." And after a few lessons, I think we respected that. And he was a fantastic teacher. He was from Ireland. He was only, I think, about 22, 23. So he was a really young teacher. But again, we responded well to that. Instead of some old guy shouting at us and moaning at us, he was this guy that had energy and had enthusiasm about teaching. And that's what he wanted to do, was dedicate his life to teaching. And I specifically built a really strong relationship with him, to the point where I got into some trouble after school one time. I got into a bit of bother with someone. I got followed home and there was beef outside the school and I was going to get jumped. It was a bit scary. So I had to go back up to the school and get someone to drop me off at the bus stop, I think, or something like that, because I was getting followed by I would say like quite a serious gang. Do you know what I mean? It was, you know. And the day after, he came up to me, sat down next to me, and was obviously quite nervous, and went, "Oh, I don't want to overcross the line. I don't want to overstep the mark. I don't want." And I was like, "Sir, it's fine. Just like chat to me. Like, what's up?" And I used to call him James. I used to call him Sir a lot as well, but James, because that was his name, and we almost had a friendship. And he said to me, if you want, I can drop you at that bus stop every day until you feel safe. And that to me was the first time a teacher had ever gone out of their way to do something they don't need to do. They're not paid to do that. He's not paid to take me down the bus stop, and he doesn't have to tell anyone about that. He just wants to do that to make me feel better. Anyway, so we were able to build up a relationship, and then he decided, him and his girlfriend or his fiance, decided to move to Dubai and go and teach in Dubai, which was massive, and when we found out about that, we was gutted, but so happy for him, because that was his dream, to go to Dubai, go and teach children English, because he was an English teacher, a very passionate English teacher. He was also a very well-respected member of his community back in Ireland, which he never bragged about it or nothing, but he was almost like a little local legend back, because he was a marathon, not a marathon, but a really good, big athletics guy, great runner. And his parents had a pub in Ireland, which is, again, very well respected as well. So he was a big name back in Ireland. Anyway, so we moved out to Dubai, and we message each other every week, and I see how he's doing in Dubai and catch up with him, and he's telling me about how it's going. He's asking about how school is and all these different things. And I message him and he doesn't answer for a few weeks, and I think nothing of it. And we message for years, I get to sixth form, and I followed his fiance, and she posted a photo of him over the weekend. I thought, that's a nice photo. Had no caption. I saw loads of love hearts underneath, and I thought, that's really nice. Maybe something's happened. I'll message him next week about it. So I'm in the classroom, and one of my teachers, who didn't realise that I was friends with him, just said, before the lesson starts, I'd like to take a little moment just to remember James Griffin. He used to teach here. I don't know if some of you knew him, but he passed away over the weekend. And I went, what? What do you mean? I was only messaging him a week ago. He was like, I'm really sorry you didn't know. He passed away over the weekend. He was 24, 25.
Mad, isn't it?
And I went, what do you mean? And I remember I ran out to the toilet, I absolutely burst into tears, because it was such a shock. And I was so annoyed that that's the way I found out with everyone else. And I've almost felt this sense of, but he was my mate. He wasn't my ex-teacher. He was my friend. And he always said about, when you turn 18, I'll come back, we can go for a drink, all this sort of stuff. Like, the plans were made, and that was that sort of relationship. It wasn't, but I looked up to him a lot. When my dad was struggling, he was the one I looked up to and messaged and that sort of thing. And it was really sad. But one thing that really helped me was that when he left the school, I wrote him a letter, and the letter was, I might pop it up here. I might not. I probably won't because it's personal. But I wrote him a letter, and it was a very funny letter. I think have I read it out to you?
I don't think so.
It was a funny letter, and it was basically saying I'm going to miss him in so many words. And it had some nice messages in it about him. And we was in an assembly. And I knew the funeral was happening in Ireland, and a few teachers had gone to it to represent the school. So I got invited to the funeral, but I couldn't go for whatever reasons. It just didn't work out timings-wise. So the funeral happened, and then we were at an assembly, and our head of sixth form actually said, "Is Charlie here? Is Charlie here?" And a whole year was there. "Is Charlie here?" And I went, "Yes, miss, I'm here." And she went, "Oh, lovely. Just wanted to let you know that Mr. Griffin's funeral obviously happened, and they had a little speech about him anyway." And they said, just wanted to let you know that there was like 2,000 people at this funeral. And I was like, oh shit, wow, like, I knew he was a bit of a big deal, but I was like, that's a lot of people. And he was obviously well loved by his community. There was a few thousand people there, I believe, is what I got told. And they said, and what's nice is they read your letter out in front of everyone at the funeral to sum up what he was like as a teacher. And that for me was, it really helped me. Yeah. Because that was one of my first experiences of grief. But that was a nice bit where I just thought, people got to hear how I feel about him.
And you do build that special relationship with teachers, right? Like, you definitely, like, these are the people that indirectly or directly shape you as a person. You take away things, and I'm sure with James, like you definitely took away like how to sort of like if you were in that scenario that he was in, like it's better to treat people with respect than to treat people like that, and like take away his sort of ethic as a person, and involve that into your life, and that is really important, and that's why teaching is so like it's one of the most amazing jobs someone can do, because you are influencing the next generation of people, and he had such a big influence on you, and that is incredibly special. So of course, like it's really lovely they read out your letter, but it does sum up how someone teaches and influences, like, and he had a huge change on you.
A massive impact on my whole life, and also taught me how to treat people and how to treat people with respect, no matter what their age or where they come from or anything about them. You have to just treat people with a level of respect and speak to people like humans. And so I've always took that into my life in general, even to the point with my little brother. I don't ever patronise him.
No.
I never treat him as if he's dumb. I always talk to him like he's an adult, because I know that deep, like, or maybe not deep down, but he that's how he wants to be talked to. He doesn't want to be talked down to. So I always try and implement that in my life. Did you have any teachers that had a big impact on you? Like,
definitely, yeah. I mean, two really stick out, both drama teachers. One was in my first school, Mrs. Shand. Big up Mrs. Shand. She was the best. Like, she just got it. She got me. And when you feel someone gets you as a student, it, like you're saying, it's so special. And you're like, oh, I don't have to like force you to. And I also actually go back. English teacher Mrs. Knapp. She was the best teacher I've ever had. Like, she was only about 25, controlling.
It's always the ones fresh out of uni.
Yeah, like controlling an entire class of boys who are all about 15, 16.
Especially as a female teacher.
Yeah.
The female teachers.
And she was just the best. Like, she would mug us off. Like, she would like give it back. Like, she wasn't afraid to sort of be a bit like that.
That's
and
brilliant.
Then we were like, you're the best. I mean, she was also got the best grades in the school. She was such a good teacher. When she had to do this, the real intense stuff, she did it. She was the best. But Miss Shand, she was like a mum in school, right? Like a drama, especially drama. Like, I spent a lot of my 16-year-old sort of time in the drama studio at lunch times and break times, like with my mates, sort of sit there on the sofa and just sort of chill. And like, she would just let us be ourselves, and she really encouraged that sort of sense of self that sometimes in the school didn't want you, like the school wanted you to be one of the maths school boys, wanted you to get the grades and go, like a grades machine. And you weren't really necessarily a person as much in there. But Miss Sham was like, you felt like, I can be myself. And that was so refreshing. I really liked that. And she would let me get away with murder sometimes, like could do. Like, I once, on the day of our GCSE examination, I broke a light, and I was the lighting guy. I broke a light.
Oh, for context, you was doing the lights for the drama.
So for the performances, instead of acting, I didn't like my group, so I just did lights. And I was laying this down, and I knelt on this thing, knelt on my knee to rest it, but the plug was inside against the glass, and it shattered it. And on the day, instead of bollocking me, like, she could have gone mental. I infected a lot. She went, "Oh, we needed new lights anyways, so don't worry about it. Thank you for doing that, actually, because it's forcing me to get new lights." And I was like, you're so nice. And when I came back, because I obviously went to a new school, when I came back, she was the one teacher who was like, I want to see you and I want to talk to you. And then the other guy, Mr. Ansley, Ross is what we called him. Like, he's the one guy I had that relationship with. The best guy in, like, to teach. Like, he got us again. Like, we would sit and we'd chat, and he wouldn't force us to do like work. And especially in a creative environment like A-level drama, you can't be regimented. It sometimes comes through conversation. You create this idea, and it's very collaborative, and pretty much how we work now. Like, you have to have conversations. You can't be quiet in lesson. And it didn't work when you were, and he encouraged us, and he got me to dance. He got me to do a dance lesson. That's how great he was. Impressive. That's how much I respected him. I was like,
impressive.
No, I respect you. You're a great teacher. You know what you're on about. You got the best out of us. And so big up Mr. Ansley, Miss Shand, and Miss Knapp, like all the best. Nice. And that relationship stays with you. I still remember them, and I left school, like, I haven't seen Miss Shand in about 4 or 5 years. Like, but I still remember I don't remember what she said to me, but I remember exactly how she made me feel.
You remember the lessons, and the lessons that you get taught, You don't necessarily remember how they got taught to you,
Yeah.
but you know that they're instilled in you,
Yeah.
and you know that where they're instilled from, and that's from teachers, and that's why, as you say, teaching is so important, because you are shaping how young people view the world, which is incredibly important.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about how we dealt with school, because we'll go on later to talk about all our funny memories and stories from school. We also want to have a little bit of discussion about mental health anyway in school. But I want to ask you, we've already sort of taken the piss out of the fact that you're a bit of a late bloomer, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And all jokes aside, that must have been difficult for you to navigate, especially at an all-boys school.
Mm-hmm.
How did that affect you? How did you navigate that? And also, what effects did it have on your relationships with women, and also how you view yourself?
Okay, so I, as you've seen, was a late bloomer and didn't look like the rest of the boys, right? So year 7, year 8, got away with it. Year 9 starts to change. Year 10, year 11, it's pretty obvious. And I wasn't the only one. There's loads of kids in my year that was exactly the same. And I wasn't that short compared to some of the, like I wasn't the shortest, but I remember we had, every 2 years you'd get a class photo. And I was one person away from being on the bottom row. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was year 11, I was like, I was taller than all of you last time we did this, but you've all started to grow and I'm still stuck in the same position.
Yeah.
And it was that feeling of being stuck. And I was like, I physically can't change myself. And my dad was like, I'm sorry, mate, it's genetics. I was exactly the same. My mum was exactly the same. Sister, my brother's the only one. He's a freak. He's 6'6", like he's huge. He always has been, though. And they were like, it's just the way it is. I'm sorry. It's just what you've got. And it's very much that's the card I've been dealt. It's a hand, it's a hand I've been dealt. Like I can't change it, so I have to learn a way to cope.
Yeah.
And that came through being very defensive. I used to get a lot of shit for being like chubby and short, and like that was, and everyone gets shit in school, but that one I was like, I can't change the fact I'm small and I've got a squeaky voice, and I don't look like any of you. I don't have any facial hair. In change rooms, I don't have any armpit hair. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't look like these kids. And these kids are all turning into men, like, especially when it's a very physically dominated school. Some of the lads would be physical with me. I'm like, I can't even defend myself. I can't even.
Especially being an all-boys school.
Yeah, and it was brutal at times. Like I was like, some months didn't even want to go into school because I know I'd get shit, and I'd be like, I'm just not enjoying being in this environment anymore. I think that was definitely one of the reasons I went to a girls' school, because I was like, I can be completely different now and new. Yeah. With women, I was quite lucky. I was sort of with like someone like most of that time, so I didn't really affect it. From like year 9 through to year 11, start of year 12, like I was with a girl, so I didn't really have that effect. So that was all right. I was quite lucky, but she was quite tall and I was quite short, so that was something I got stick for. Yeah. But looking back now, like I was the one that was weird. Like I used to think, why are you so tall? I was like, it's not your fault. I'm so short.
Do you think that getting into that relationship, because a lot of people I think get into relationships in secondary school to give themselves more confidence?
Yeah.
Because everyone hates themselves.
Yeah.
Like no matter how popular you were, how good looking you were, whatever, you hate yourself at some point when you're growing up.
Yeah.
You go, why do I look like this?
It's a difficult time.
I don't want to look like this. I don't want to be like this. Why is my voice like this?
Yeah.
Why do the older kids look like that and I don't look like this, or the kids in my whatever? Did you feel as though, not necessarily the reason for getting in a relationship, but when you got into that relationship, it gave you more confidence because you had someone every day saying to you, no, you look good.
Yeah.
You're good looking. You're handsome. I like you.
Absolutely. Like it was definitely a confidence booster. But I think I wasn't even aware of it. I was just like, like why? I wasn't aware of the fact that looking back now, why was anybody even wanting to be near me? Like, do you know what I mean? I was very strange. And also when you go through that morphing stage, like you have like a bit of time in your life. Like my brother did as well. Like he doesn't even look like my brother. Like there's photos of my brother from about 13 to 15. He doesn't even look. Me and my family call it the morphing stage. And I had the same thing. Like from about year 10 to year 11, I just didn't look like me. Like,
you get that point when you're
it's your jaw
sort of growing.
is changing.
No, but it's almost like so your face doesn't grow at the same rate as your head.
Well, yeah, because I think especially as men, like your face changes so much. Like
and your mouth gets bigger, so you end up having buck teeth because your two front teeth are the ones that grow. Yeah. They stay the same, and then all your other teeth get slightly bigger, and your mouth gets bigger.
It's just your face is going through that.
So everything looks not symmetrical, and everything looks slightly off.
Yeah, it didn't help.
And you can't do anything about it.
It didn't help. In the summer of year 10, so I was 15, going into year 11, my mum was like it was that time like being like platinum blonde was quite in, right? Do you remember
that? What does that mean?
Being like really white blonde.
I didn't know that was in, but sure.
Right, well, people had like white hair, like blonde. People dye their hair blonde, anyways, in my school, anyways. And a couple of lads came back from the summer and did it, but I had also done that. Because I used to be blonde when I was a kid, and my mum was like, "Oh, we'll go back to it. It'll be really nice. You'll come back from summer." About 3 years later, we found the dye bottle that mum did it with. Bear in mind, she's a makeup artist. I trusted her. She forgot to put the peroxide in, so my hair was yellow.
I mean, I've seen a photo of this.
Yeah. And we'll come into it, and it will come into a funny story. Actually, it might be good to do it now. My mate Joe. So this is our first send-in from our mates. We've had our mates send in some funny stories. Do you want me to play the video now? And we can play it on a clip over the top as well.
Sure, let's do it.
So Joe came up with a very funny name for me because of this. So here we go.
I thought probably the best way to talk about Louis and fun stories from home would be to film in a toilet, because for some reason, when thinking of Louis, I think about shit.
Thank you, Joseph.
So one of my favourite stories of Louis is probably the time when his hairline was receding quite badly, more than mine was.
Absolutely.
And he had a fringe face down, and he tried to dye it, but he only dyed the tip. So the front, say, inch of his fringe was blonde. The rest of his hair was similar colour to mine. So he became Rolo yogurt for about 3 years. And people just say, still don't understand why, because it wasn't really a funny joke, but it's one of my favourite memories of Louis. And one of my funniest moments was when he looked like a Rolo yogurt and almost cried because he didn't like being told that. So that's one of my favourite stories.
Thank you, Joe.
Cheers, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, for that in the toilet. That's really helpful. Didn't almost cry, but I did look like a Rolo yogurt. And the reason was, I hated it so much that every time it grew out, cut it. So I had a really bad haircut.
Yeah.
Because like it was like this short all the time.
Yeah.
And yellow tips. So I got called frosted tips.
Yeah.
I got called Rolo yogurt because the Rolo has the two. Yeah. You get it.
You had an ombre fringe.
Ombre fringe for about a year, and it was actually terrible.
That's
so
fantastic.
Yeah, my appearance took a back seat, I'd say. It wasn't always something I cared about because I couldn't really, because I didn't grow into my body. But then I hit sixth form and I started to grow. Like all of a sudden, like I joined sixth form at 5'7", and I left sixth form. Bearing in mind we left in March, so in a year and a half I grew I was 6 foot when I left. So what's that? 4 or 5 inches, like in the space of a year and a half. Like it just shot up. And then like my voice started to drop. But even like throughout uni, like my voice has changed. Like and like
I think you're still, because I think with puberty, usually it's a select amount of time you go through it. So usually, if you start early, you stop. Quite early. So that's me. Like I started puberty very early. I started puberty at like sort of 9, 10, maybe 10, 11, like that period. But realistically, I stopped growing at about 16. Yeah. And my voice has stayed the same.
But that's
for about
when I started
5 years.
Really growing.
Exactly. So I think it's periods, isn't it? Yeah. So I think you're still changing.
Well, I think I've now stopped. Like I've started to stop.
But but I will say, like, even if you look at the first episode, which we've done, like, I still look the same in terms of I haven't looked like I've grown up much. Yeah. Whereas you look about 3 years older.
My beard has started to come in.
But you're just face shape, mate. Just everything in general. Like you've now got features of your face, and when you look at the first episode,
featureless man.
But you know what I mean. When you look at the first episode, like you did look a lot younger than the age you were, whereas now you look the age you are, if not slightly a little bit older.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've just done a lot of growing up. Yeah. A weathered face, you could say, a lot more stressed.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I have changed a lot. Like that was my thing in school. Like I used to always say, like, I'm going to be tall. I know I'm going to be tall, guys. Like, just trust me. I know it.
Bear with me.
And I left in year 11. They were like, you're still not fucking tall. You're still a little squat, little weirdo. I was like, brilliant. I came back like 2 years later. So I didn't see anyone for 2 years. I was in a pub, just when like Eat Out to Help Out was happening, and I came back and I saw loads. They were like, "Fucking hell!" Like I was so much taller than you when you left, and all my mates like so unfair. We were so much taller, and then now I'm the tall one. I'm the older one, and I loved that. Yeah. And now it's like, oh, I want to be young. But no, it is like I was always like that, and my parents just kept saying, "Just trust us, Louis. It will happen. It will change." But yeah, I looked horrid, whereas you looked quite nice.
Well, yeah,
did that help your confidence? I imagine it did.
I think so. Look, I would say that I was obsessed in year 7 and year 8 with being popular. Obsessed. It was my one goal. So I used to go to the parties. I used to go to other schools' parties. I used to hang around with people I didn't necessarily like that much. Yeah. Because I knew that people liked them, therefore they'd like me. And I think because I wasn't necessarily popular in primary school, me and my couple mates used to pretend to play Doctor Who around the field in primary school, right? So you can
see. I think I would have made fun of you in primary school, and you would have bullied me in secondary school. Yeah, funny how things change.
It is. But so I wasn't at school in primary school, and I remember for months and months. Shout out to my big brother for this. I used to sit there and he'd be like, if you want to ask me any questions about secondary, just let me know. And I took that very literally. And every single night for half an hour, for months, I would go in and ask about scenarios. What happens if an older kid takes a piss at me? What do I do? Where is this so that I don't be shown the wrong way?
You're very lucky.
Yeah, I had an older brother who he was also at an age where, when I joined school, he would have been about 13. So he was also at an age where he wanted to be popular. So the advice he would give me now is different to the advice he gave me, but the advice he gave me was how to be cool. That's
so interesting because my brother was 5 years older. Yeah. So he was past it. He was in year 12 when I joined.
He was like, how should you be a mature student? He was like, just
how do you get on? Get your head down. And also the way he is, he's very studious. Yeah. He became head boy. Yeah. So he wasn't like, oh mate, go out, find the fittest girl you can. Do you know what I mean? He was just like, mate, work hard.
No, my brother was more like, how do you talk to women in secondary school? How do you like get a girlfriend? When I got into secondary school, for me it was sort of all about making sure I found out who the popular ones were, made myself in that group, and then made sure I stayed in that group. And I would say in year 7, year 8 is the time in my life where I look back at myself and think, oh, I hate you. Yeah. Because I think I was awful. And I think, look, let's be honest, if someone had something that was different about them, you took the piss out of it. We all know what went down in secondary schools and all that sort of stuff. It was horrible stuff, right? But at the time, everyone sort of took the piss out of each other. So, if I sort of had a shit haircut, it was you got a shit haircut. If I didn't have much money, it'd be you're poor. If you was too rich, it'd be because you're rich. Whatever was different about you made you different to everyone else.
I made fun of a kid for having 2 garages.
There you go. Call him 2 garage. It's just anything that makes you different. So, but I used to do that to other people to make sure that I stayed near the top where I took the piss out of other people. People didn't take the piss out of me. And I hung around with people that I look at now and I go, fuck me. I couldn't think of anything worse than spending 5 minutes with you because you're an ego fucking maniac dickhead. Yeah. I don't want to spend any time with you. But I did do that for so long. And I think I wasted so much time. And that's why I always felt as though I didn't really have friends. And the friends I did have were always women, were always girls, because they got it. And I could talk, and things were going on at home, and I was a very emotionally mature person, and I wanted to talk about my feelings. And the blokes just didn't want to do that. The lads I went to school with, that wasn't part of it. It was just taking the piss out of each other, making each other laugh, getting each other through by just having a laugh. And I enjoyed that side of it, but on a deeper level, I could never connect with any of them, really. Yeah. And so I always felt as though I didn't fit in with that group of lads, but I just kept hanging around them because there wasn't an alternative. Yeah. Our group of lads at school, they had little subgroups, but generally speaking, it was about
very
30,
big, wasn't it? Yeah.
About 30 of the lads who used to all just sit together. Again, subgroups, but majority of us were just all sort of relatively mates. So I always struggled with fitting in, and then I had a few girl mates along the line, And obviously I had girlfriends and girls I'd talk to, and I'd always try and make sure I had one on the go at least. Always talking to someone, but yeah, I really struggled on the inside, not necessarily maybe on the outside. And I always was one of them kids that sort of floated in the popular groups, but didn't really offer anything. Because I was like, right, I'm in the group, I'll just sit back and I'll react to things that have happened. And there were the lads that were like the confident, popular lads, and you knew who they were, but I always clung on a little bit.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily say I was a really cool kid. And I didn't always necessarily get loads of girls and that sort of thing. I just really wanted to, and I tried hard, and it paid off.
You won the boys.
In some regards, yeah. But I did struggle in school, and I hated myself. I hated the way I looked.
Yeah, because you sort of had a change, didn't you? You sort of started to see a different side. I think
if I'm being honest, the only reason that I really changed, I would have carried on being a dickhead if I hadn't got into my relationship that I did with my ex. Because when I got into that relationship, everything changed. Because all of a sudden, being a dick didn't work anymore. Yeah. Because I cared about someone, I didn't want to be a dick to them, and they didn't want me to be a dick to them. So I had to be nice, and I had to be loving and supportive. And when I started to realise that I cared about them more than I cared about me, that was a big shock to me. And that's what I used to think love was. You know, we had the last episode, or a couple of episodes ago, was love. That's what I thought love was, is when you care about someone more than you care about yourself. And I've come to realise that I don't think that is what love is. I think that's unhealthy. You should care about yourself a lot more than you do anyone else, because you're always with you.
How can you can't love anyone else unless you love yourself first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you should love yourself more than someone else. And I know a lot of people don't, but you should. But anyway, so when I got into that relationship, that's when everything changed. And I stopped hanging around with the lads, and I started hanging around with this person who actually made me happy. I could be myself around this person. And, you know, I think a few people might look back on that time, especially now that we're not together anymore, and think, do you regret it? And I don't. No. Because if I'd have carried on hanging around all the lads,
you should be talking on this podcast.
I would have been a lad. I wouldn't be talking on this podcast, exactly. I wouldn't be. I'd have kept quiet. I would have bottled everything up. And my mental health would have been absolutely in the bin. Yeah. Whereas now I'm able to talk about this, and that is because of that relationship, getting into that relationship. That's why that relationship was so important and integral to building me as a person as I am now. Yeah. It was a very good thing that I did do that. Yeah. So that saves my school experience massively. Of course, there were negatives that come along with having a girlfriend. There's drama goes on. There's jealousy. There's having female friends is a difficult thing to navigate, and we'll go on to talk about that probably in an episode where I might bring on one of my old female friends. Wink, wink. We'll go on to talk about that, but there was a lot of really difficult things to navigate. And I remember my mental health in school was all over the fucking place. And I've talked about it before, but in sixth form especially, there was a period of time where I just didn't have anyone. Because I'd invested all this time into, my girlfriend went to my school, and she was in my first year of sixth form. And then in my second year, she went off to college instead of staying on another year. And I was left with the lads. And the lads are all lovely. And I still see some of them every so often. And all of the lads I went to sixth form with are really nice lads. And they weren't lads either. They were, but they had relationships with each other that I didn't have. I couldn't get in. Because you'd spent
that time.
Exactly. Yeah. I couldn't get in with them. They were all single, relatively speaking. And if they had girlfriends, their girlfriends were all in the same group. Yeah. So I was just on the fringe. Yeah. And instead of making the effort and opening up and telling them, I didn't. I bottled that up. And it made me resent them in a way. And then I remember that period of time where I went into sixth form, and I just sat by myself. And the lads made plans, and they went off at lunchtime, do their own thing. I remember coming into the sixth form area, and all of our section was gone. Yeah. And I said to someone, "Oh, do you know where like the girls are and the lads?" Because we had a girls group and a lads group, and they sort of hang around together. And she went, "Oh yeah, they all left to go Tesco's like 2 minutes ago." And I remember that moment of that sinking feeling in my heart. I just sat there where all of my friends were, knowing that they'd gone off without me, and probably not even thought, "Oh, let's wait for Towner." It was just, "Oh, let's go Tesco's." And might not have even noticed till they got back that I wasn't there. And that's when I was like, I'm not important to this group anymore, and I don't feel like I should be here in this sixth form. And that's when I stopped going, because of them little moments. So all these things are so difficult to navigate, and I think it brings us on nicely to talking about how we feel about school in general, and do we feel as though we miss school, and were those the best years of our life? You always hear someone say, school is the best years of your life. And I've always found that a really difficult statement to not only believe, but to process, because why is it the best years of your life? Is it because of the lack of responsibility? Is it the sense of freedom that you have? Is it that you don't have a job and you can do what you want and you can get away with doing more stupid things? Like, what is it that makes that people say that's the best period of their life?
I think you just summed it up perfectly, if I'm honest. I think it is all of the above. So you have no responsibility really other than homework, and yeah, it's a ball ache, but you know what I mean? Like, it's compared to work, it's fine. You've got your mates around you 24/7. So like you're never not entertained.
Yep.
It's easy. I'm not the same as you. I think I have a really positive look on school in retrospect. I know you had a bit of a tougher time than me, but I loved school, especially sixth form. I loved going in every day. Like when I got head boy, I didn't miss a day afterwards. So that's like I did like a year, and I was ill when I first in year 7. I was quite ill, so and I had the same sort of problem. I wasn't there, so I couldn't socialise. So I wasn't in the groups when everyone was forming.
And that's difficult to then come in and try and insert yourself.
Yeah, I was off school 2 weeks straight in year 7 in October, and it doesn't. 2 weeks seems like nothing, but 2 weeks is so important when everyone's forming friendships. And then I was only in for half days for most of year 7. But I still look back on school and go, I have so many good memories. And my groups changed. I didn't stay with the same lads. Like, we had forms, and I was friends with that lot, and I still am. I'm really close to them. And I had like the people I played PS4 with. Then I had the drama group, and then I have the boys I'm really close with still with now.
And you had a few different,
Exactly. And I'd go from group to group. Like one lunchtime I'd be with them, maybe for half an hour, and then I'd go, I've got lessons with them after, so I'll go to that lot. So I loved school, and in sixth form I loved it even more. And I used to say when I first left, especially because it was COVID, we didn't really get a goodbye. And I think that is very important to our stories. I would say to my friend Kerry, who, you might be meeting on another episode. Possibly. I'd say, I miss school. I'd call her, but I miss school so much. Do you not miss it? And she was like, no, I don't. And she had processed it, and I hadn't. And I was like, I want to be back there. I want to be around all my friends. I want to be in the groups. I want to have lunch with you every day. I had another 4 or 5 months of that, and I didn't get it. I wasn't allowed it because of COVID. And it was like a very minor grief of losing school. Like life had gone like that. And now you're inside every day and you can call people. But then now I look back on it and go, I would not want to go back to school. Maybe for the most a week. I thought I had freedom in school, and I did to an extent, but I didn't. I was there. I woke up at 7 every morning. I couldn't imagine doing that anymore. Like going to 3, going home. That was it. That was my whole day. And now I can do what I want, especially because I work in freelance. Some days I don't work. Some days I really work. So I have that weird, nice balance. But I don't miss school. I don't. I look back on it with really fond memories, and I loved it, but I don't miss it.
Well, I was going to say, before we move on to talk about our funny stories and that sort of thing about school, it's important to note that I think the reason I have such a negative, and I do, I'll be honest, I have a negative view of my school time. And the reason I moan about it is because of what happened when I left. You got to remember this. January, or late January, I split up with my girlfriend at the time, right? Been together years, split up. I then went through a massive mental health battle. I had depression bad, a complete mental health crisis. I had depression bad. I was suicidal, right? I then wasn't going into school and was staying in bed all day, and nothing could get me into school. COVID happened. My last day of school ever, and will always be my last day of school, I got a text from my mum. COVID had just been announced. It was just a thing. It was in sort of March time, right? It was about a week before schools closed. Got a text from my mum. George has got a cough. Government guidelines say you need to come home now. We all need to isolate for 14, I think it was 14 days. It was because it wasn't even tests. So we've got to go home. So I show my teacher. She goes, get out you go on. So I walked out of my classroom, I walked down to reception, showed them the text, they did the same thing. You need to go home. Go home. Just get on a bus, go home, cover your mouth. Fine. So I get on a bus, I go home. I isolate, I get 8 or 9 days in, they announce schools are done. And that's it. My last day of school was that. I didn't get to say goodbye to anyone. The next time I saw all of my friends from school was on results day in August.
Man.
Not only did that happen, we then went into lockdown. My dad died 2 weeks later.
Double header.
Right, and all that happened within about 3 months.
Yeah.
Split up with my long-time girlfriend, left school without saying goodbye to anyone, and my dad died, and we was in lockdown. An incredibly intense amount of bad things happened. And why I look at school in a bad way, I think, is the way I left it. Yeah. And then when I came to uni, that sense of, that's all behind me. That horrible part of my life is done, and now I can move forward. Yeah. And that's why I view my uni experience is much better than my school experience. So I just wanted to.
But no, I get that because I had a mini version of that with sixth form. So I didn't enjoy it. Toward the last 2 years of my year 10 and 11, miserable in a way. Loved it, but was also miserable. And then I started fresh in a new school, brand new people. Only one of my mates that I knew beforehand was there. It was a clean break, and I was like, I love this. And now I fell back in love with going to school. Yeah. Whereas I was like, it was a chore, which it is for most kids. But I had this new thing, like I actually feel like I'm me again, and I like it. Yeah. So I get it. I do get it. And then I could have carried on, but then we went to uni. Yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean. It isn't always like, and that is tough. Like, so that's a lot to take on in such a short amount of time. Yeah. And like we've been saying throughout this episode, like kids don't know how to navigate that. And that is like one of the issues we want to talk about on this podcast with schools. Like we've spoken about it very briefly on episode 4. So if you want to go back and watch that, so we might repeat ourselves a bit. Yeah. So go back and watch that, and then maybe come back. Talk about that at the end of episode 4. And
I think we'll go on to talk about the issues with mental health in schools at the end of this episode. Yeah. Just to cap it off nicely. Yeah. But I think what we should do now, while we have the time, is talk about the fun moments of school. Yeah. Because we've talked a little bit about the struggles we've had. But I think we should talk about the funnier times.
Let's go on to fun first.
I think we should talk about the funnier times. So we asked everyone to submit, stories that they have or memories that they have that went to our schools. The one that just sprang to mind straight away for me is the little moments of laughter. You know, them times in school where you're nearly pissing yourself, you're sweating because something's so funny.
Yeah, I shake when I'm like, I go silent when I find something really funny. I just head down shaking.
And, one of the funniest moments I've ever had at school, I actually had the giggles the whole day about it, right? Is me and my mate, we went to the sixth form toilets, and they're like individual toilets, right? And
nothing ever good happens in a toilet in a school.
So anyway, we was like waiting for like toilets to become available, and one became available, and I said, "Go on, mate, you can go first." He went, "Okay, cool." So he walks in, he shuts the door, turns the light comes on. Literally 1, 2, 3 seconds, and he goes, "What the fuck?" Right? And then I just hear this laughter, like this proper, like deep laugh, and I'm going, "What is it?" Right? He opens the door, his face is absolutely red, and he was a ginger lad as well, so his face is already quite red. His face is red purple, right? And he's just going, look at that, right? And I go in there, and I'm kidding you not, we might have to bleep this little word at the end, but it literally was someone had taken their shit and had wrote the words in shit, cunt, on the wall.
Expressive.
But what I found so funny is how they hadn't just rubbed it on.
Yeah, it's drawn.
They'd said that word.
Very, very poignant.
And I lost the plot. Me and him were there. This is middle of lesson. We were there for about 15 minutes, just absolutely dying on the floor. And you've actually mentioned that there was an ongoing storyline, almost from like a Waterloo Road, right? Yeah. On your school. And
so I don't know if it's just our schools.
Anyone from Louis' school?
Yeah, you'll know what's probably about to come
You'll know
up.
what's going on.
So there became the case of Picasso in my school.
Is it unsolved still?
No, it was solved.
Okay, obviously we can't say.
No, but they will remain nameless. Yeah. So one day there was DT toilets downstairs. I might be getting this slightly wrong, but this is how I remember it happening.
The finer details.
Yeah. Might be slightly embellished, but there's a DT toilet, and someone found a biblical cross of poo on the side of a toilet door. And that was a freak accident. Everyone was like, who the fuck has drawn a cross with their shit on a door?
Yeah.
Why would any person do that, right?
Yeah.
Thought it was a
Baffling,
one-off.
isn't it? It's baffling.
Thought it was a wrong.
Yeah.
Not a one-off.
Repeat
Picasso
offender.
strikes again.
You got a repeat offender.
Another drawing. I don't know what the drawing was. I remember the crosses, but there was another drawing in shit. And this is where like sort of people started to prick their ears and go, their head started to turn of, is this like a thing? Is this like a thing that's happening? Is someone doing this like consistently? Yes, is the answer. Someone was going around school and drawing images with shit on toilet doors, and it became this like, can you catch them? And this was when I was in year 8, I think, and my brother was school captain at this point. And so it was it was my brother's task, his first job as school captain. And he's 18 for context, like, or 17 or 18. He's not equipped for this. Find Picasso. And people respected this man. Like, Picasso. They used the name. The teachers were using the name Picasso. It wasn't like it was like the Phantom Shitter or something.
No, it was a proper...
The Picasso.
Yeah.
This guy...
Was that Banksy?
It was like Banksy. It was like Banksy. And so it carried on for probably about a month or so. This went on. And then the Phantom Picasso came out, right? A sort of a copycat shitter.
Oh, right,
Someone else started doing it. And he got caught, and he went, it wasn't me originally, I just thought I'd do it as well, right?
Oh, right,
and
so that's how you knew he wasn't
the
real...
because his style was slightly different, right?
Okay.
He'll again remain nameless.
He had finer lines.
And it wasn't until the guy in my year who was a bit tough, the tough bloke in my year, right? He was in the toilet, and he went, what the fuck is that? What is happening, right? He could sort of hear Picasso at work. Didn't know it was in English toilets. And he caught him in the act by barging the toilet door open and finding Picasso with shit on his hands. And just looked at him and went, that's fucked. And just let him. And Picasso was discovered and...
what a way to be discovered.
Yeah, subsequently reprimanded for his crimes against the school. And he didn't even get kicked out.
That's brilliant.
Just carried on. Everyone just went, stop doing that, mate. He went, yeah, fair play.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Like, in school, you had these like moments where you look back on it and you think, that was so weird. But at the time...
It's rebellion, isn't it?
Yeah, but at the time you didn't feel it. We had a kid, right? Again, remain nameless. Everyone will know him. Year 7 and year 8.
Yeah.
We had like a top yard.
Yeah.
We had like the main yard and then we had top yard. And top yard was where you went to get away from everyone else. And usually fights happen top yard. So if you saw a crowd on top yard, you ran. And we had this little fenced off corridor. You could fit about 2 people widthwise. And you'd have a rush of people just going in. And then people would almost in a way block it off. Well, this is how I looked at it. Blocks it off so that teachers couldn't get up. So if there was a fight, you got at least 30 seconds of a fight before teachers would come up. And my school didn't have loads of fights, but I think it had more fights than what you've described in your school. Like,
probably. We had quite a few.
Well, probably.
I was behind a fish shop.
Right, yeah. We just had ours in school.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I remember one time I saw a big crowd and I went, shit, fight. So we ran up, right? We ran all the way up to top yard, pushed for everyone. I looked at the floor and there's a kid breakdancing on the floor with a year 11 playing music at his phone, going, do a shimmy, do a little shimmy, and this kid sort of going, right, and then he's doing twists on the floor, and it's shit.
He's giving it large though.
But he's really, like, you see his face concentrating. These year 11s just loving it, right? And then, right, and this is so fucked up. You just started throwing food at him. Like, I saw bits of flour, like, because people have food tech, so I saw bits of flour, tomatoes, bits of bread, and everyone's just going, oh!
It's just like bedlam.
And he's just going like that, he's doing the robot, like that, tomatoes coming at him, and it was fucking brilliant. And at the time, I remember we just laughed our heads off. Then a few years later, someone went, do you remember blank dancing on Top Yard? And I went, yeah. And none of us laughed, and all of us went, a bit fucked up, really. And we went,
pelting food at some kid.
Some poor kid who was breakdancing, trying to impress the old
years. He
probably went up there to get a ball or something, and they went,
dance.
You, do a dance. Or have you got any special skills? Like, make me laugh. And he goes,
tomato.
And then they go, oh, yeah, everyone look, he's dancing, pelting food at him.
Yeah, people just get so excited they don't know what to do. It's like, I've got a packed lunch, bang.
But my brother, right, he won't mind me telling this story. One of his first days in school, because my brother, like, he's quite a big lad now, like, he's very muscly. But at the time, he wasn't. He built that up. Like, he's naturally quite a skinny guy.
Yeah.
Got a small frame. So anyway, the older years, and our older years were dodgy. Like, they phased out a lot of the gang and drug-related stuff in our school. But there was drugs in our school. There was knives in our school. There was weapons just before I came. And big up the principal, the ex-principal, I won't say his name. He's quite a powerful man. But he phased a lot of it out. And anyway, so my brother came into school, he turned the corner, and as he went through just before he went through the gates, he almost got taken and collared, right, by these older lads. Sort of pinned him up against the wall and said, we're going to put stuff in your bag, right? Don't look in your bag, meet us here. So they put stuff in his bag. Now, he never knows what was in that bag. It could be flour bombs, it could be drugs, it could be weapons, anything, right? They chucked it in his bag, they pushed him through the school gates, collared him round the corner, took stuff out of his bag and just pushed him off, and then they walked off. And it's them sort of things where, like, you think, like, Jesus Christ.
And
like,
those kids are probably only about 16, 17. I mean, like...
No, they were only a couple of years older. They were like 14, 15.
Mad, isn't it?
But I remember looking at them and going, oh my God, these kids are like, they're men. They're like,
But now you'd look down at them and go, you're a kid.
Exactly, yeah. But everything's in perspective. And also, like, the thing about primary school, when you go to your old primary school, my field, I used to think my field was huge. Yeah. I used to think a lap of my field was like a kilometre. And actually, it's probably not even 400 metres. It's not even that big. But I used to remember thinking it was huge because you're so little. And then when you go back to these places, you think, oh, this is tiny. Yeah. That's always interesting. Another one I wanted to talk about was, I've actually got
quickly,
it on my phone.
I'll just talk about fights. We had fights in our school, and there was this one that broke out on the main field. No one was allowed on the main field, right, unless it was like for playing sports. We had like a concrete bit. Yeah. And this was happening, and all of a sudden, you see the head of lower school and our head of PE sprinting from the bottom field. He must have run 500 meters, just running towards these kids, like sprint, like gallop, like that. And this one of my mates, who again will remain nameless, was friends with this guy who was mildly special needs, right? But like, it wasn't like he was really, but anyways. I don't know why my mate was possessed to do this, and he was like school friends with him. He was the last two on the field. Everyone went, it's the teacher, run. This kid goes, I'm not going to run yet, I'm going to spear this kid. And this guy was like, and it made it worse because this guy was like, why have you done that to me? I don't know you well enough. Yeah. And they took him, I think they both got isolation, but the guy with special needs didn't understand what was, like, why he was in trouble. And I get it, like, why was he in trouble? Because he got speared on the field, but it's just because he was on the field. Yeah. But like, these sort of fights would happen and you wouldn't care who it was. Because usually you would go, oh, I wouldn't pick on you, like, it's not fair. It didn't matter. In the moment, it was anyone can get it. And this guy who did it was so well behaved. And it was just that moment, like you were saying, like when people are chucking food, that moment you go, I can do anything right now. Yeah. Like sort of horde mentality, like your herd mentality, you don't even get it, like. And he just went, fuck it, spear him. And in the moment you must go, why have I just done that? And they both got isolation. Yeah. But yeah, that sort of stuff just does happen. Like, kids just go, oh shit, I've got all this freedom, I'm just gonna do something mental. Yeah.
My mate decapitated a pigeon.
Title, clickbait.
Clickbait. He thought it would be funny to try and impress some other people, I think, or make people laugh. He picked up a dead pigeon, and he sort of picked it up by its head and sort of went, hey, look at this, right? And he started spinning it around, and his body fell off. And he's spinning it around, and his body just flies off, and he's holding his head. He's obviously his neck is snapped anyway, and with the ferocity he was rubbing it around, his body went off, right? Oh my God. And some Year 7 saw it, traumatised, and went and told the school, and he got excluded for the captain.
Boy in my year hit a seagull with a tennis ball, just launched it up, managed to hit this seagull, it's just gone. That was an interesting day.
Also, things that used to like get us through the day, right? Our sixth form was terrible. Like, I'm fine with saying that my school had positives. Yeah. The sixth form, honestly, I would recommend people don't go to Summerstock sixth form, and I don't care if that comes across whatever. It's terrible. You know, most sixth forms, they have like a little common room where you can chat. You might have like a microwave or a kettle in there or something. Yeah. We didn't have a common room. There was no common room. Yeah. The common room was desks and chairs. You couldn't talk. during study hours.
Yeah.
You couldn't go on your phone. You couldn't listen to music. You couldn't do anything. It was a dead silent room every single hour, even in your free periods.
I loved the common room.
Your free periods, you had to sit in silence.
They did that for us at the end, towards like exams.
But we started rebelling, like we just didn't care, and I just started putting my headphones, I just refused, right? But it was so boring that what me and the lads would do in this free period is we'd go on a little walk.
Yeah.
And we were allowed to just walk about, usually, right? So I remember me and a few of the boys just went into the big toilets, got paper towels, put them under the sink, threw them up at the ceiling, launched them at the mirror, launched them at the wall. And we'd do it, and we sort of, we throw it, splat, and we go,
up, splat.
Look at that.
That's it, yeah. But that's all you need.
So bored.
That's all you need.
It was so boring that there were little things.
It was, and like, it is that little disruption. It's just like those tiny wins where you go like, okay. But then the school can get you back, right, in different ways. One story, this is slightly more serious, but it's a very funny story in retrospect.
It'll bring us on to the next topic.
Yeah,
so let's do it.
I think you know the story. So and he won't mind me saying, my good friend Harry, love you Harry, when I reached out.
Is this Harry from school?
Yeah.
Harry from school.
Harry from school.
We have another Harry.
Yeah. When I reached out, he didn't tell me this, but my friend Max found this story so funny at the time, he forced Harry to tell me for the podcast. And Harry's got quite a few good stories. One was a really good one. He was unmuggable because his items weren't good enough. Very quickly, the muggers said, he went to the post office, he had a box of toys he was picking up, and went, what's in the box? Toys. Where's your jacket from? Next. What shoes are you wearing? He was wearing like Asics or something like that. And they were, how much? What phone do you have? He's like an iPhone 4. And it's time to fuck off. They went, you're not worth mugging. That's a really good story about Harry. Harry, I love that story about you. Anyways, this one was in school, and he was really struggling with his mental health, as a lot of students do, like feeling like really depressed. Had tried to sort of talk to doctors, but they were saying you're too young to get any like medication. Yep. Really, like, not in a great place, as lots of kids have. And he said to the school, I feel really awkward about telling my parents about it because it's a really difficult conversation to have at home. Would you mind talking to them for me? And they went, yeah, that's fine. Come in to the office, we'll have a sit down. So the head of year, head of sixth form, and one of his teachers, I think, were in this room. And went to premises. One of the teachers had a voice like this, and he said, "Oh, Harry, we come down to this office." All right, really stupid voice, right? Makes it all better. Yeah. And Harry sits down, and they go, "Harry, we're going to call your parents." And he goes, "Okay, yes, thank you, I really appreciate that." And then they call him, beep, 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 beep. Hello, Mrs. So I won't say his last name. Harry's got something to tell you. Harry's got something to tell you. They out him in front of his parents, and then Harry has to say he's feeling like suicidal, like to his parents. Yeah. Like, why would a school ever make you do that? They just outed him. They put him on the spot. Went, go on then, son. Yeah. In front of head of year, the teacher, and like head of sixth form. And he went, Mum, and I had to talk to them, and they were like, why would you ever do that to a kid? Funnily enough, his mum thought he was coming out. That's what she thought it was happening. Okay, now
imagine that'd be even worse. just forcing him to come out in front of his fucking teachers.
Yeah, exactly. But the teachers went, oh, go on then. And he went, why would you ever make a 17-year-old kid do that? Like, that is traumatizing. And it was bad. But in retrospect, it's quite a funny story.
Yeah. But it's sad.
It's sad. And like, this comes on to sort of in a funny way, what we want to talk about is sort of wrap everything up, like how to deal with mental health when you're in school. Yeah. Because it's such a challenging time with, relationships, friendships, popularity, schoolwork. Like, even like now, like getting home, like, you know what I mean? Like, there is like responsibilities are all on you now.
I think one thing I will say is that if you're still in school or you've been in school and you look back at that time, it's very, very normal to feel anxious as a teenager. Part of going through puberty is feeling anxious and not having a lot of self-worth. Yeah. And I think one thing, and older people have said this to me, they say, back when I was at school, we didn't have mental health issues. It was just part of growing up. And I think in a way I understand why they might think that that's a better way to deal with things, because think some people go through struggles and they feel as though they have really bad mental health issues, but actually what they have is just growing up, and you have normal anxiety about everyday things.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly
normal stresses,
Yeah, and your first bit of grief when you're, you know, a lot of people's grandparents die when they're in secondary
Yeah.
school, and it's a very normal thing to go through. We talked about
And
this in
pets,
grief.
like childhood pets
dying.
happens a lot.
So all these things, they cause mental health issues, but they're very normal, and that everyone goes through them. But obviously some people go through really bad mental health issues. I think when I was in year 7, 8 and 9, a lot of girls were self-harming. It was very normal.
Yeah,
for girls to
unfortunately, I know.
self-harm.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't say that it was in terms of like, it was like a trend that they were all doing in terms of that they felt that they all wanted to do it. It was very much just a normal thing, like just to see cuts on girls' arms.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like I've spoke to a few of these girls, again, I won't say who they are, but they've told me that at the time it's like, well, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
But they didn't realise the consequences that
You weren't thinking about it.
you have scars for the
Yeah.
rest of your life now.
Yeah.
For something you did when you was a teenager, feeling as though you were going through a crisis where actually you was just being a teenager. And that's really difficult. You get them scars for the rest of your life.
But it's the weight, right? It's the weight of being a teenager plus all these stresses, and you don't have an outlet, and you don't know really what to do. And so unfortunately, it sometimes does accumulate itself into, like, and you get it out in that way.
Yeah.
And that is like, I really struggled to understand it when I was that age, because I have people who I'm really close with who would do that. And
I remember hearing the
didn't get
word,
it.
and you know, let's be honest when we're talking about it, I do remember the word attention seeker being battered about by myself. I used to say
I didn't understand it, so I would say, I don't get why. I don't, but that's because no one's ever taught me why that would happen.
Mine
or what
came
it
from a
was.
place of misunderstanding as well, and cruelness. If I'm being honest, I was nasty as a year 7, year 8. You take the piss out of things
also,
that make
you
people
think,
different.
you know, you especially someone like you had like these sort of problems going at home. My life, my life's so bad, and like, why are there problems? But you don't know, like, why are there problems accumulating that? But what you don't know.
But
what's
you know
going
what
on
my
at home,
anger
do you know what I mean,
was?
for them.
What my anger was deep down is that I think I wanted to do that. I wanted to cut my arms, but I didn't feel as though I could. And the reason I felt as though I could is because of a conversation I had with my mates, where a girl had done that to herself, and my mates were saying, "Oh, bless her, like that's horrible, blah blah blah." And I remember thinking, "Oh yeah." And then one of them said, "Oh, you know that kid in the older year, like he's like carved someone's name into what his arm. That what a freak." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And do you know what it was? It's because he was a man.
Yeah.
He was a boy.
Yeah.
He was a lad, and it was
that
almost viewed.
stigma
It was viewed
of-
as a feminine way of showing
Right.
that you had a mental health issue.
And that's one perspective of it. Like, it's like, I know so many people who have like have done that sort of thing, and then you talk to them now, and like it's a completely different way of viewing it. But I remember talking to one really close friend at the time who did that, and he was just saying, like, it's just the way I can release how I'm feeling. And I was like, to me it was very sad at that time. It still is very sad that these teenagers don't have an outlet, and schools do definitely have a part to play in that, right? Like, they are a safe haven for kids, and they should be. But it's so difficult to, like you were saying, like all the little stresses. How do you constantly put out those little fires when a kid, you're not equipped to it? You might not be telling people, and then all of a sudden you're in a position where you're hurting yourself, or you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position, but you've not dealt with those things.
Especially
They've built up.
if there's not things in school where it's easy to go and talk to someone. It's an easy route.
Safeguarding is really important, but it's so hard to access sometimes as a child.
I want to talk about something I found. I did a little bit of research just so that I had a bit of context to talk about certain things. I think it's important that I say this. The statistics are very, not I wouldn't say shocking, I'm not giving a trigger warning, but it is very sad. So give context to the survey. 1,130 school leaders, teachers and other staff working in primary and secondary schools completed the poll. So this is how we know it's reliable. Yeah. This is from adults working in schools that are seeing it with their own eyes. Okay, this isn't from governors. This isn't from boards. This is from proper teachers, right? Those surveyed have seen an increased prevalence of other mental health issues among pupils this school year. So about the year that it was taken, right? So this is some of the stats, okay? 86% noted an increase in low self-esteem. 76% said they'd seen an increase in depression. 76, okay? 68% witnessed an increase in sustained feelings of anger. which is a massive one, especially when we look at how we're formed as teenagers, and if we're formed with anger, we later go on to commit angry and violent acts, especially, I would say, especially in men, especially in men. For staff working in secondary schools, 72% have noticed an increase in self-harm.
Wow.
72% of them are seeing, and we're not talking about, we're talking that means that 3 out of 4 teachers are saying not only is there self-harm, it's not saying that, it's saying that this is increasing and it's not slowing down.
It,
61% in suicidal thoughts, and 56% in eating difficulties amongst pupils as well. Unfortunately, and this is the big thing, only 23% of staff said that they had regularly been able to access specialist support for pupils with mental health needs, leaving a majority of children and young people struggling without access to the support they need. And that's the thing that I feel passionate about. There's nothing worse than having parents that don't understand you, having other students that judge you, and having absolutely no outlet to push your feelings out. And this is when you see students as young as 12, 13, 14, 11, 10, primary school children, there's primary school children killing themselves because there's nothing in place for them to go and speak to someone. If they don't feel like they can talk to their parents and they can't talk to, students among them, they go and talk to teachers. And if only 20% of teachers feel as though they can then help that student and get access to support.
Yeah, these teachers aren't trained in, they are to an extent, like safeguarding.
Yeah.
But not how to deal with a child's mental
But they
health.
are probably told, okay, you need to then refer this on. You need to, and they can only do so much. And that means that 77% of teachers, of staff, can't get access to help.
And it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, isn't it? You don't want to think about kids in that position ever. Like, it's not something you want, but it is something that. Exactly.
Because you just write it off.
Yeah, and it's not. We're very lucky. We've had very positive, happy experiences in primary school, anyways. That there are some kids who aren't feeling that way, and it is really horrible to even think that is happening. But unfortunately, in some. I don't think it's awfully common, but it is happening in some places. Yeah. And if it doesn't happen, it builds up and builds up. And we were talking in the self-care episode about little fires, putting out little fires, having coping mechanisms. And as a child, you don't know. It's not anyone's, like, these problems, it's not as if the teachers are actively neglecting them. They don't have the time in the day to deliver all these classes, do all the paperwork that comes with it. Teachers are under so much stress. And then having at least 30 kids in a class, all with their individual problems, unless they come to you and actively seek your help, it is really hard to try and help unless it's blatantly obvious signs. And my mum's noticed lots of things in her time in teaching, and she's really struggled with trying to help that many people because it isn't easy. And not everyone wants you to help them as their teacher; they just want you to teach. And it is really hard. It's not a blanket approach. And that's the thing, you need specialists. And so 23% have access to specialist care is shocking. And it does need to change.
And it's not talked about. And these shocking statistics, this is why we come on here and we have these conversations because more needs to be done and people need to talk about it. And if we can use the platform we have to talk about it, we want to.
Keep working with companies like Young Minds, like charities like that, like supporting young people is because it's really great supporting people in adulthood, and we're not neglecting that at all. But it's usually 9 times out of 10, I'd say, starts in your adolescence, in your childhood. So nipping it in the bud when it's not building up and you've not got a mortgage, you've not got all these extra pressures on you. Yeah. When it's the pressures of school and society and being sociable and making friends, do it then, and then you're healthier in the future. Exactly,
and we need to focus on young people because if we can get to the root of the problem at a younger age, it stops then someone being like my dad who got to 45 and then was like,
I can't do it anymore.
I can't do it, I can't do this. And that's because he wasn't able to access help when he was younger. And one thing I just want to round this off, it's very serious, and I just want this to sink in for a moment. This is only people between the ages of 15 and 19, in this country. In 2021, the number of people between the age of 15 and 19 that took their own lives was 198 in this country. there's 198 children between the ages of 15 and 19 that killed themselves.
Bad.
And 25% of students in this country, only 25% of teachers in this country feel as though they're able to get this help for children. So what are we telling to the parents of these 198 kids that killed themselves in 2021? What are we saying to them? That there's just
The
not the
system
support.
failed them.
There's just no support, so I'm sorry, we can't do anything. We live in a country that is so far progressed, and we have so many luxuries in this country. So many things have been done to improve our lives, but for some reason, even in this day and age, even with our generation, this is still neglected. And them 198 parents didn't have the luxury of their kid being able to access that help.
And watching their kids grow up, that's taken away from them because for one reason or another they felt they couldn't talk, and they got to a place, that sort of dark place where you go like, that's it, I can't, and that's really sad.
Yeah.
And more needs to be spoken about, more needs to be done. People need to keep making a change, and whether it's governors, officials in school, MPs, House of Commons, House of Lords.
Write to your MP.
Yeah.
Sign your petitions.
Yeah, anyone that's willing to listen, it's worth having the conversation.
And I will say one thing as well. I'm obviously, I love it when people post things on their story, and I post things on my story, and to try and raise awareness. We've risen awareness. Now we need to start taking action.
Yeah.
Awareness has been made. We know that there's problems.
We know
out
that the
there.
problem's there. It's about how to tackle it.
Exactly. And if I'm being honest, sometimes we try and end an episode by saying, see you later, guys. I just want to end this episode with that. Yeah. 198 is the number. You need to remember 198 children from 15 to 19 took their own lives last year. Yeah. And that's something that we have to remember. We have to keep in our minds. And every single time we think about what needs to happen, that needs to happen, that needs to change, that number needs to go down and down and down. And we shouldn't stop campaigning until that number is at 0. We need to keep going. That's really important. One other thing I'd like to say is, we talked about him earlier, but if it's all right with everyone here at Creative Capital, I'd like to dedicate this episode to James Griffin.
Absolutely.
In his memory. We're going to chuck a little photo up at the end, if his family are all right with that, and just say this episode's dedicated to him. And this would have been something that I think he would have cared about as well, because he was there for me when I was going through problems, and I know he would have wanted to be there for more children and to imprint on more children's and lives by teaching them. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Leave a like if you really like the episode and you want to see more about school and that sort of thing. But also remember, more important than watching and more important than liking or commenting is that you go out and do what you can to change that number. Yeah. Remember 198. That's the number you need to remember. So go out, write to your MPs, sign your petitions, do what you can. You can only do a certain amount, but do what you can, because we need to bring this number down. Yeah. And if we can talk about it, then you guys can talk about it. And if we can sign petitions and do things, you guys can. It takes 2 minutes out of your day. Yeah. So we'll link some in the bio and go and do it. But thank you guys very, very much for listening. We appreciate you staying till the end, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you later.
Bye.